Okay. I hope this is working right. I'm gonna give it a chance to catch up. Hopefully, it will behave itself today. Why is it lagging? Why is it lagging? Do you see it? Do I sound okay? Let me know. All right. I think we're good to go. It's Trauma Thursdays. What's up, y'all? It's Dr. Alauna. I'm in the building. It's Juneteenth. Hey, Tamika. All right, y'all. Oh my goodness. I see it pausing. I don't doing that. Listen, the devil is busy. The energy is busy. Okay. Is it behaving? Let me know if you can hear me. Okay. Like, share, follow. Yes, take a day tomorrow. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, take some time off. We have been going through, right? Like we've been going through it for a while. So if you can get the day off, take it. All right, and we're gonna talk about it. Y'all, I'm going to give you the goal. I'm gonna give you the goal. So I'm telling you, there is a way to get free. Listen, Harriet, come on. Come on, Harriet. Come. She tried to tell us, I'm trying to tell you, it's time to really get free. We didn't get free on Juneteenth. I didn't know about Juneteenth until I was in Texas. Um, and I love it. I love it. I have a love-hate relationship with it, and I'm gonna tell you why. So before I do all of that, please share this, start a watch party, get your homies in the house, in the building. It's time to get it done. Okay. We have been toiling for hundreds of years now. Hey, it's time to get free. Okay. And we are just now getting to the point where people are listening. Praise God. Let's take a praise break for a moment. Hold on. I play some music, but my signal already ain't acting right. All right. Yes. Tag your friends, tag your family, tag your cousin. Now, listen, this is for Black folk. So, you know, why is it lagging? This is driving me nuts. Okay, let me see if moving to a different place will help. Hold on. I'm gonna move. You coming with me? Come on. We on the Underground Railroad. Let's go. And we about to take it to another level. You don't want to miss this. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss this. So get your people while I'm getting myself together. You get yourself together. I have some stuff I want to show you. So let me go ahead and just take this on up. Has anybody else lost anyone? I lost an uncle. My uncle passed away last night. Y'all, it's tough out here right now. Folks is going through it. All right, I know my signal gonna act funny. I'm gonna let y'all see all of this. There's the ring light. Come on. Come with me. Can't make this. Listen, I have some information for you today that you want to. I'm trying to get downstairs in my kitchen, but that's not gonna work. So what I want you to do is put your questions. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section, please. Let me know what you need to know of how to deal with racism, racial trauma. Now, look, don't you give away none of these tickets. Y'all always trying to invite more people to the cookout. Today is for us. Boo-boo. Yes, Black mental health matters. Absolutely. This is Trauma Thursday. Is my special day. I never thought that I would appreciate trauma the way that I do. Hey, Sanib. Because trauma makes you dope as fuck. Ooh. Yeah, I cuss. And I'm going to tell you how to make your trauma work for you. Tamika, we all need a me day. Please remember that we are all going through a global trauma. And because we're going through that, hold up. All right, we ready to rock and roll. Okay. Are we good now? Hopefully we good now. Listen, today is the day. We get free. We're gonna cross the Mason-Dixon line and we ain't going back. Y'all, they passed the laws that changed the legal ability to be abusive and to cause trauma to Black people, but they did not change the minds of those people. So I want to talk about how you can change your mind and your perception and be able to move yourself from a space of trauma into a space of peace and joy. And it doesn't require anybody else to do any changing. Oh, hallelujah. Amen. Oh no. I need my gospel choir. Where's my gospel choir? Listen. Our problem has been that our education system about ourselves in general is incorrect, and it doesn't actually teach us just how powerful we are. So let's talk about Juneteenth first. Juneteenth is an interesting holiday. And the reason, see now, I left my notes downstairs. So you're just gonna have to get it off the top of my head. Look, I don't remember the exact dates. I'm sure some of y'all do, so you can put it in the comments. But here's the problem with Juneteenth. The people in Texas worked a whole 2 years and some change, longer than they needed to, because the message that they have been declared free was not given to them. Let me say that one more time. And I want you to think about how fucked up this is, okay? We got free, right? And I know it's some folks acting a fool right now. That's why this cookout is just for us today, okay? I'm going to tell you why they're like that. But I'm also going to tell you that you still have to do your own work, okay? Now, the concept of Juneteenth is that finally, when the message made it to Galveston, Texas, shouts out to H-Town, 2 years and some change later, and that has become the celebration because that is the final group of people who were declared free. Now, of course, we know if we study history that even in the Reconstruction era on into the Roaring 20s, on into the early 1900s, even into the 1960s with the civil rights era, we have continued to make legal progress literally through any means necessary. We all probably could, you know, there's lots of opinions on which version of things works, and I say we need all of it right now. But truly, Juneteenth is a painful celebration to me, where we have to really stop and look at, have we done enough work on the way that we interpret each other to truly be free? Now, what I mean by free is mentally free of being affected by other people and affected by negatively affected psychologically by the things that other people do. That's freedom. That's freedom. When you know that you can do anything that your mind can conjure up, if you believe in yourself long enough to actually carry out the actions and create that thing. That's the basic design of all human beings. Okay. And I think that it's important to recognize that the only way that we truly will stop behaving as if we're only body, right? We act as if the animal, the physical part of us, is the only part that exists. That's a problem. That's a big problem, because if you don't see the invisible things that are there, we know that they're there. Am I lagging? You can feel free to drop comments, because if you can't hear me, I'm lagging on my screen, but I don't know if that's how it's transmitting to you. Nikki, I know you're in the background. How's the sounding? Thumbs up, thumbs down? You know, I can't hear you. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I might have to restart the broadcast if it's not coming across correctly. I don't know. I'm trying to read the comments. What is it? Can you hear me? Is it coming through okay? Okay. Sharonda said we good. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thank you. So, let me step back a little bit and tell you a little bit of my story. I practiced at the VA in Houston, seeing veterans for 12 years. That's including residency. And for all of the trauma that I saw and heard and listened to, at the end of the day, all of those people had a valid reason for feeling the way that they felt. Okay. We have been, hey, Dawn. Hey, thanks for joining. Please share, start a watch party, comment. I'm breaking it down. I'm breaking down racism. And I think all of us who are here can understand that there is a emotional, psychological burden that happens when we experience microaggressions, people making comments, you're the angry Black person, you're too intimidating, you're threatening. The amount of mental hoops and gymnastics that we have to jump through as Black people to be successful in this world is ridiculous. It is. It's ridiculous. It's completely insane. I call humans right now the sane insane. We think that we're sane, but we really are very out of control when it comes to our emotions and our expression of how we feel and what we're thinking. And I include myself in that number. I include myself in that because I didn't know that I was primitive either. I didn't, and I'm a psychiatrist. And until a few years ago, after a bunch of traumas in my life, and I started to look and study what is wrong with human beings. And in the process of that study, I was blessed to be able to explore and learn what parts of our brain actually create our responses to things. Okay. And what I learned and what I'm about to tell you completely changed the way that I think about what is happening here on Earth. Okay. Now, I learned that we have 6 parts of our brain that you really need to understand in order to understand trauma. I'm going to run through them very quickly. Any of you who have been with me before have heard these, and I hope that you are starting to pay attention to your own brain because you are a superhero. You are magic. You're the greatest technology on earth. If they had started my medical school classes with that, I don't know that we would need the field of psychiatry. Every single human being is genetically 99.9% the same. All of us. That was proven in the Human Genome Project. It was completed in 2003, I believe. And so 17 years ago, they figured out scientifically this whole race shit, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. I'll say it again. Sometimes it takes a while for concepts and reality to transfuse around humankind, right? People killed people over the idea that the earth revolves around the sun and not the sun revolving around the earth. Now we're all like, yeah, we know how this works. But scientifically, humans have not updated their brains yet. We haven't updated our interpretation of each other. There is one race with many hues and many shades and many cultures, but skin tone and skin color and how many melanocytes a person has in their skin or how much their protein makes their hair curl, it means jack shit, really. So all of the things that you see in this world that are related to inequities, that are related to poverty, health differences, educational differences, they all boil down to nurture, not nature. Okay? They all boil down to programming. And the programming, think about how this country was founded. Okay? Empathy is the ability to actually take into account the experience of the other human being that you're sitting across from or that you're interacting with. It's a exercise of the imagination. Okay. So empathy is a superpower, because if you can actually see the world through the experience of other people that you're interacting with, you're looking at this much world versus your little bitty bubble of perception that your brain can create. So our founding fathers and mothers lacked empathy, because you can't be actually experiencing and connecting to the emotions in the Native Americans and the true emotions in the African Americans that you're interacting with, or the African descendants, I should say, that you're interacting with, and be thinking of them as animals and treating them in a horrid and horrible way, without you thinking in an animalistic way yourself. So who wants to empathize with somebody when they're causing pain and damage? That would hurt me. They don't want to do that. So if you are actually choosing to use empathy, you're choosing to see through a greater lens than your own. You're choosing to actually recognize not only that the other person's experience is different than yours, and that's okay, but you are learning to actually hear the whole person, to hear the spirit, to hear the language of the soul. We have been taught to ignore emotions. How much education do we actually get about emotions? Where's the curriculum? Where do we learn about it? You drop it in the comments. Kindergarten, third grade, junior high? Supposed to be taught at home? How many of our parents actually have healthy emotional states? How many of our parents actually engage us in conversations about our emotions and help us find words for them? And I'm not saying that we had bad parents. I had great parents. They had their flaws, but what we have a tendency to think is that we teach these things by default. And really we do need to have these discussions within the families. But we also carry a lot of traumas in our families. And people do not like to talk about their traumas. They do not like to talk about their painful stuff. So one of the things that we find is that the conversations about emotions often are people shutting them down or telling them that they should feel a different way, but not really flushing out and letting people be. Now, I think we've gotten better at this as a society, but I know growing up, a lot of people were told, you don't talk about that kind of stuff. We don't talk about what uncle did. We don't talk about what the cousins do. We don't talk, it's very normal for us to have physical punishments in our households. That's a nice way of saying whoopings. I got whoopings. I got whooped for a lot of stuff. And, looking in hindsight, I think that was the tools that were taught to my mother, that were passed to her from her mother. But I also recognize that we're not far out of a mindset where, in order to get a behavior out of a person, if they're not doing what you like, you use physical harm or you use psychological harm or intimidation. We have a naturally cooked in aggressive and oppressive society. That's our psyche. That's the psyche that has been passed to us. And when it's normalized, to be aggressive or to make other people do or say or think what you want them to say, then that interpretation of other people actually is cooked into how you think and cooked into how you interact with people. I see y'all. Where we learn emotions, we learn them at home, counseling, family, parents and caregivers. That's the hope. But there's a lot of people that do not have healthy home environments. I would say more people than not don't have healthy home environments. As a first generation immigrant, my parents didn't understand how to help us process racism, discrimination, or colorism. Exactly. So there is not really a lot of education out there about how to control these responses. Where do they come from? What do they mean? So we absolutely are evolving, and we absolutely have to learn about ourselves in order to do that. So let me break down these brain systems real quick. Number one, your reticular activating system, your RAS. Your RAS is your filter. Your brain is constantly filtering information from the environment. Now, this affects what you pay attention to, okay? Your brain is editing what you hear and how you interpret things. So here's the thing about racism. There's a lot of times where the painful experiences that we run up against may be based in a racist thought process. But then there are times where there's something else driving that experience. But because we've had so many painful experiences with racism, our RAS is picking up on that thing and interpreting it through a lens of our past traumas. Now, your RAS can help you or your RAS can hurt you. Your RAS is part of the system that makes the law of attraction work for you. So your reticular activating system will pay attention to things and bring them into your awareness. You have to intentionally program the positive things into your awareness in order for your RAS to bring to you and guide you to things that connect to that energy. Okay? Because you are very powerful. And if your brain is filtering towards the negative side, the red stuff, by default, that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to feel. That's what you're going to create. Okay? So you have to tune your own RAS, and you have to challenge yourself to make sure that your perception of whatever situation is happening is actually connected to a shared reality. Let me say it again. Every situation in life can be looked at from a zoomed out position, neutral, right? One person's doing some behavior, the other person's doing another behavior. Okay? If you take the emotions out of it, those people are just interacting. But when you're in the situation, you're feeling all of the sensations that are going through your body. So the second brain system is your amygdala. Your amygdala is the part of your brain that creates your emotions. Your amygdala is actually what makes this body feel stuff. Now that could be your throat is tight and scratchy, or your stomach is bubbling. Okay. Your shoulders are tight. Your RAS sends that signal through your body in so many different ways that we have difficulty recognizing what emotions we're actually feeling. Okay. So your amygdala creates all of your emotions, positive, negative. So if you're mad, it's your amygdala. If you're happy, it's your amygdala. If you're sad, that's your amygdala. Okay? It never shuts off. It does not go to sleep. You go to sleep, your amygdala does not go to sleep. That's why you can wake up with nightmares. Okay? Because your body is still generating the sensation and the feelings. Claudia, I'm going to get to your question, okay? Because that's a good one. And so that amygdala is producing sensations inside of you that can drive your behavior and you don't even realize it. Okay. So this is the reason that we need to focus on developing emotional intelligence, because the emotions are always present, even when you don't feel them, especially if you don't feel your emotions. You're feeling numbness. You're feeling disconnected, but that is still emotions. Okay. So even if you've been through so much painful stuff that have desensitized yourself, that is actually a real thing biologically, where your brain adapts itself so that something that you're exposed to continuously doesn't hurt as much. But it makes you feel numb and feel disconnected from the very real emotions that are actually taking place inside of your brain and body. And they have a very real effect on your day-to-day life. So you have to, in order to be free, you have to learn those emotions and what emotions are driving you. If it's, ooh, I'm feeling jealous, that is making me want to say something ugly. Or I'm feeling afraid that something could happen to myself or my family. Being able to put words to what you feel and how you feel allows you to identify the thoughts that are creating those emotions. Because your amygdala creates your emotions only based on what you're telling it. Only based on what you're telling it. Okay? So it does not create emotions based on reality. It creates them based on what you believe is happening in that situation. Okay? So that means what I'm telling myself is actually making me angry. What I am interpreting the other person to be doing is what's making me jealous, or what's making me feel disgusted or embarrassed or shamed. Okay. So learning to control how you are thinking about any situation gives you more power over it and takes your power back from being moved by somebody else. Come on, y'all. Take your power back. Come on, y'all. Nobody can make your emotions. Nobody can get. The only thing that, now if somebody putting their hands on you, as I tell my kids, now look, it's if they just talking, you can say anything. You can call me anything, whatever. You call me the N-word, I interpret that as you calling me the goddess and the royalty that I am. Thank you very much. Amen. So if you want to throw around words in ignorance, that's fine, but it's not gonna move me off my boat. Now it might get your, I'm sorry. Okay, but if you don't put your hands on me, I can still have a conversation with you. But it's hard to stay in control of that amygdala because it's so powerful. Woo, have you ever just sat with yourself when you are upset Lord have mercy. Okay. That's your animal. That's your biology. That's your amygdala creating all of that tension that makes you want to slap it out of somebody or go off or, run and hide or quit. So you have to master that amygdala. Number 3, your somatosensory cortex. Your somatosensory cortex is the part of your brain that registers pain. We all have invisible, painful experiences that have happened, and it's exhausting to even try to think about and explain how many invisible wounds and invisible insults. Living in America and brown skin, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. It's so many painful things and invisible walls that you run into, and people telling you, "Oh, we got past racism." You like the fuck we did? No, we didn't. Now, did you just hear what somebody just said? This, we not past this, right? The problem is we have ignored pain signals. Why? Because if I actually admitted that I was causing you pain or damaging you by my behavior, then number 1, that takes away my responsibility for creating it. Okay. And number 2, I can say, it's something wrong with you, not me, right? It is tiring. It's exhausting. The anger in every part of our body. When you get hit, when you get psychologically slapped, somebody says your lips are too big. Your nose is too wide. Your hair is unprofessional. You're too aggressive. We don't understand. You make us anxious. Listen, that has a very real impact on people. Okay. So our somatosensory cortex does not distinguish between physical and emotional pain. Somebody saying something causes a slap. You can't see it, but it happens. That's why people get so upset by other people's words, because they actually have a very real impact on the inside of this body. Okay. Now, here's the thing though. Now that you know that, you have to pay more attention to what your powerful words do when they fly across the room. Aha, see, it's still going to come back to you, because now you know better. And you know that when you say something, you have to get these words out of your brain, out of your mouth, invisibly across space to go into that other person's mind. And it's either gonna knock them upside the head, or it's going to effectively explain what information they're missing, or say the thing that is needed to advance them along to where they need to be. Okay. So let me pause. Claudia, what perception is if children follow you and throw water balloons and call us brownies? Which, although delicious at the time, I didn't understand and lived life. Never talked about it when we would go home. Not until as an adult, I'm guessing the Raz reframed them as racist act. Yes, I think I understand what you're saying. So take that off for me. So I think that exactly like that, our brains don't, they're programmed to perceive information, and that comes through the education from our family and our household. And it's not in school and church and whatever other environment that you're put in. You're taught how to interpret yourself and how to even look in the mirror and interpret yourself. So there's a lot that people directly say, and then there's a whole lot of things that are unsaid, but you still get the message that there's some version of something that you're supposed to be that you're not. And that is where those painful experiences come from. So let me go back to that, because I don't, sometimes I get sidetracked. Number 4, your brain reward system. Your brain reward system is your addiction system. Everybody has a brain reward system. It's on right now. I hope you're getting some dopamine from this message, because this message means that just like how you're addicted to functioning the way you are right now, everybody's addicted to being right and thinking that our own version of reality is the reality. Everybody has food addictions, money addictions, work addictions, people addictions, sex addictions, substance addictions, television and technology addictions, social media addictions, things that give us dopamine, things that feel good, give us dopamine bursts. And we especially get dopamine bursts from things that make us, that make us feel really bad also can make us feel really, really good. Okay. So one thing to understand is that the interesting part about being a Black person in America is that America is addicted to us and they don't understand their own addiction, right? Like we have a saying for it where they like Black culture, but they don't like Black people. And one of the most powerful things that you can understand about yourself is that, number one, you to somebody else, you're very addictive. Mm. To other people, you are something to study and admire, but that doesn't mean that that their addiction is healthy, right? That doesn't mean that they won't attack or that they won't feel jealous and be harmful. No. But the important part of that to take from it is that your individuality and your authentic self is dope. The you that's in there, when you feel confident, when you're acknowledging that, yeah, your skill set is probably pretty tight compared to a bunch of other people, because as a Black person, when you really put your mind to doing something, man, come on. Do I have to give example after example after example of what Black folk have managed to do despite all of the foolishness that is in front of us and around us still? So if you are in your position, number one, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a fist bump, right? Kudos to you, because you're alive. And in this world that is constantly trying to take us out in a number of ways, for you to just be sitting where you are, that tells me that you are pretty freaking awesome. Your ability to operate despite the traumas that I know that you have experienced is actually remarkable. You, as a descendant of the people who were stolen from Africa, have a heritage that goes way beyond slavery, because we absolutely can look at human history and see that Africa was a thriving continent with all types of knowledge and development and wonderful, amazing achievements long before they even set out all over the rest of the world and spread and mutated and evolved into what we think of as different races, right? Which is more so cultures and ethnicities that have developed through evolving through the pressures of their environments that they were exposed to. Nonetheless, we all have a brain reward system. Number 5, the next brain system is mirror neurons. We all have mirror neurons. So a lot of people they get kind of frustrated when I say, well, you know, it's on you. That's victim blaming. You know, you're telling people who have experienced traumas that it's their fault. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we all mirror each other's behaviors, and we all repeat trauma cycles if we're unaware of those cycles. It's natural that it happens because of the way that our brains are programmed. However, when we identify a trauma cycle and we study it, we can figure out why we got like this in the first place. What did we absorb from our environment that maybe we want to think about differently and reconsider? Do I still want to think that way? Is what someone said to me, or what they told me, or what I've been believing for a long time, does that belief serve me? Does it help me? So the challenge here becomes, if I know that we absorb words and behaviors and thought processes from our environment, how do I show the other creator that I'm working on or working with or just interacting with, how do I behave in a way that my demeanor is the most powerful example in the room? Right? Because if another person is behaving ignorantly, does it make me better if I go down and wrestle in the mud with them? Okay. Does it, hey, we got folks from the UK. Thank you for joining us. If I allow myself to say harmful words or to go off on people, okay, I don't disappear when my amygdala goes off or when I'm acting out negative behaviors, but nonetheless, those are affecting someone else and they're creating something for me and that person. So our mirror neurons program how we think and how we interact with each other. So how can we learn different words, different behaviors, different thought process, and program those into other people by showing them what it looks like to stay in control of their animal? So you still have responsibility to control your biology, even while you might be seeing another person not controlling theirs. And the last brain system that you need, well, I won't say that you need to understand, but the last primitive brain system that you need to know is, don't put it up there, is your biochemical matrix. Your biochemical matrix is my term for just the mishmash of stuff. Right now, we're all feeling a lot of adrenaline. We're all feeling a lot of cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When you are dealing with cortisol, it makes your mind fuzzy. It makes you wake up in the middle of the night. It makes your body more tense. It may make you have longer periods of anxiety because your stress hormone is high. Your blood pressure might be high and you don't even realize it. It makes you hold on to weight. So the chemicals in our body expand any experience that we have, but we have to actually start paying attention to this body and doing things to actually calm it down so that we can remain effective in what we need to accomplish. Okay. So why do I tell you all those 6 primitive brain systems? Because they have a huge impact on how you make your decisions every day. And the only way for you to be free, truly free, is for you to know that you have full control of yourself. For you to know that no matter what you're presented with, you are going to be able to use your prefrontal cortex, the best part of your brain, the most evolved part of any human being, the part that we are just learning how to turn on, because we've done all of this on our running by default on our primitive brain systems. But now those primitive brain systems have us out of control. We need to use our prefrontal cortex. That most evolved part of our brain is right behind your forehead. Tap it. Reset, reset. This is the green stuff. This is what we want. Your prefrontal cortex is always functioning, but your primitive brain systems, all those things I talked about, think about that. They get the information first. They process it first. They create a reaction first. So when you are walking around and your brain catches that person standing over in the corner that looks suspicious, your amygdala creates all kinds of anxiety and fear, and you're like, oh, that person looks suspicious. They look just like that white boy I saw on the news about to shoot up the store. And automatically your brain is creating something. Your somatosensory cortex slapped. Who wants to be around during those times? That's gotten your attention. Now all these chemicals flooding through your body, creating a panic attack. And we're addicted to all of these highs and lows, these ups and downs. So we're addicted to trauma drama. And then what does my brain tell me? Get out, go. I leave my shopping cart. I'm out in the car having a panic attack. I'm like, whoo, that store was so unsafe. At least through that bubble of perception. But that does not mean that that's the reality. That person might have just finished their shopping trip and they just ran in to grab some gum, right? But our brain does not do a good job of distinguishing between our self-created reality and the actual shared reality, okay? Our brain does not do a good job of distinguishing between our perceived reality and a shared reality that is available to us through the use of empathy, okay? So I'll finish this up with this. You have the opportunity to get free of trauma by processing your trauma, okay? And what I mean by that is that if you understand the traumatic experiences that have programmed you to think the way that you do and to respond the way that you do and to create what you create in your life, you can then you can recognize that, and you can bring yourself into dissecting a situation in the moment, controlling it in the moment of now, which is the only moment that you actually have control over. Just you. You are the game piece. And you only have control of this thing right here. But in our oppressive, non-empathetic psychology, we have been taught to interpret other people through a lens of judgment and through a lens of that they should be something different, and even interpret ourselves through that same lens that we should be something different, or that we're somehow broken or damaged, and we're actually operating exactly the way we're supposed to be. We're actually operating the way that we're designed. But the problem is that if you don't understand your design, then your design is going to run off with you. Kathy, it's the middle of the night out there in the UK. Thank you for joining us. Look. Dr. Joy, I have it right here. Read Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. Some people are readers, some people are not. Listen to it on Audible. Whatever you have to do, this is an important book. Look, even when I read it, I was right. I don't ever write my books. I don't like writing in my books. I like keeping them pristine. But when I read this book, she says so many things that made so much damn sense. Listen, there's a reason why you think like you think. There's a reason for it. Nothing is just coming out of nowhere. There is programming that has been painted into you by primitive people and primitive ideas and primitive concepts before we understood that we are one connected race, being, entity. The people who designed this shit show had no idea how powerful they are, but you do. You do. So now your job is to actually teach yourself about trauma. My camera don't like when I move. No Mud, No Lotus. This is another excellent book, and I will put these. I'll put these in the comments when I get off. No Mud, No Lotus by Thich Nhat Hanh. Very, very useful book. Talks about how suffering is part of, well, trauma is part of the equation. There is no such thing as a life without any pain. And I think for many of us, we have a society that has made it a point to try to avoid pain, avoid negative feelings, avoid feeling uncomfortable. Thank you, Victoria. And that's not reality. We can't set up anything where anybody can promise you that you won't feel pain or that you won't bounce off some invisible wall that creates some damage in how you might think about yourself and other people. But here's the thing. Nothing that happens to you actually changes your identity. Nothing that happens to you changes the fact that you're an animal, human spirit, and that you have the power to create anything that you believe that your physical body can accomplish. Everything other than that is about programming that tells you that you can't do it, or you're not enough, or if you're in a certain skin, you can't do it, or if you're in a certain gender body, you can't do it, or if you're live in a certain place that you can't do it. Bullshit! I release it. I release it. Release that shit. Use that pain as fuel. Write down your story. Get a journal. Thank you, Dr. Dawn. Love you, sis. Get a damn journal. Write out your story. It might be some tears. I guarantee you, if you write your story, it's going to be uncomfortable. But it's also going to be a best-selling book because there are so many people out there who have experienced what you've experienced, and they too want to know, how did you deal with it? How did you get out of it? So if you can figure out how to sit with your emotions and how to sit with your traumas and how to tell your holy story, your holy trauma story, that's what I call it. If you can figure out how to process your traumas in a different way and rewrite what you tell yourself about the story, that is how you take control over anything that you create from here going forward. Kathy says, I was hearing earlier how conflict avoidance is all part of the culture of whiteness in which we live. We cannot tell the truth if people cannot make it emotionally safe to hear the truth. Okay. And thus far, when white people get made uncomfortable, they react. You know, think about Amy Cooper, right? Ma'am, can you put your dog on the leash? You're telling me what to do, you big black threatening Negro. Okay. It's not easy to be emotionally honest in a space that can get you killed for your honesty. So that's where white people have to do the work. But black folk, because this is for you, today is for you, I'm going to wrap this up by saying this, okay? It is entirely up to you to control your responses enough that you can be effective. Because yes, it's tiring to answer these questions. No, we should not have to. They can fucking Google it at this point because all of this information is out here. There's books and all kinds of stuff. But here's the thing. When someone is approaching you and they want to know and understand racism, you don't have to tell them. You can conserve your energy. If you don't have it, you just don't have it. But you have to be able to control the emotions in order to get people to the finish line faster. Okay. White people are finally open to hearing about these experiences and learning things that they have not learned. And I'll tell you that when you actually start learning American history, I just read the other day about a game where they used to throw baseballs and eggs at the black folks. Look it up. At the fair, at the picnic. Yeah, come on, come hit a black person with a baseball. They threw them at children and babies sometimes. Okay. So allowing ourselves to wallow in dehumanizing, primitive, and animalistic thought processes not only does not serve white people, but it doesn't serve anybody. We say we want world peace. We will not have world peace until all of us upgrade the way we think about ourselves and the way we think about other people. You are not just human. You are superhuman. You are animal, human, and spirit. But so is that other person. And you're either operating closer to your animal side or you're operating closer to your creator side. And it moves around. It's on a dial. And only you can control whether or not you're going to be primitive or evolved. That doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. That still boils down to you. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that you can take this information and begin to dig and get free. Get free. Listen, it's been too long. And no one else has control over your mind and your body and your reactions and your mental health, but you. That's just that. So put a little Dr. Lana on your shoulder. Here's your little animal on the other shoulder. And remind yourself to be effective. It's not about being right or wrong. Everybody's interpretation of reality is a little bit right and a little bit wrong, because you cannot see the fullness of the process that's in that other individual unless you slow down enough to use empathy skills. You can go to the dralana.com page, check out the Trauma Recovery Academy. And in the Trauma Recovery Academy, my first course, Empathy Skills Practice for Traumatized Humans, is only $1. Why is it $1? Why is it $1? Damn it. Because I don't want no excuses. None. I want to live in a world where everybody understands their design. Your RAS, your amygdala, your somatosensory cortex, your mirror neurons, your brain reward system, your biochemical matrix, all of it is in there, just percolating around. I forgot my brain. This thing right here is doing stuff to you, and you can control it when you know it. Okay? All right, y'all. That's it for tonight. Cookout. Go read you some books. Get on the grill. I'm getting my grill stuff ready for tomorrow. I'm finna marinate these steaks. Listen, y'all have a good evening. I love you. I don't even have to know you to love you because you're part of me. That's just how this works. Remember that. Good night.